Welcome to Kiki's Talk Buffet. Let's talk it out.
Welcome to the deep dive. We take sources you're interested in, pull out the key insights, and basically give you a shortcut to getting up to speed.
And for you, the learner, the goal is always to really get into the material, without making it feel overwhelming.
Today, we're digging into some really core ideas about building wealth. We're looking at excerpts from a chapter on financial literacy.
Yeah, looking at it from maybe a slightly different angle than you might expect.
Exactly. I mean, we hear so much about making money, right?
Right.
The hustle, getting that paycheck.
Sure, the earning part.
But what about after that? What about actually, keeping it and making it grow? That's what our source material tackles today, the main idea. It's not really about how much you make.
It's about how much you keep.
Precisely. Okay, so let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So the author starts off by comparing two paths, his own and his friend Mike's. They both had the same mentor, this rich dad figure.
Right. And Mike, he went the more traditional route, took over the family business, grew it.
The success story, definitely. But the author went a different way. He actually managed to retire early, like 47.
Wow, that's young.
It is. And what really stood out to me was his definition of retirement. It wasn't just, stopping work.
Yeah.
It was about getting to a point where your wealth just grows automatically, whether you're working or not. He uses this image of planting a tree.
Ah, okay. You put in the work up front.
Exactly. And then it grows and provides for you, sort of on its own.
That distinction is key, isn't it? Active income, where you trade time for money, versus passive income from assets.
Yeah, it shifts the whole focus from just earning to building something sustainable.
A financial ecosystem almost.
Then, to kind of hammer home why this long view matters and the risks of just focusing on getting rich quick, he tells the story, a historical one,
Oh, yeah.
about this meeting back in 1923. Some of the absolute biggest, wealthiest businessmen of the time, real titans.
Okay, I think I know where this might be going.
Yeah, because you look at what happened to a bunch of them just 25 years later. It's pretty stark.
It really is. You had Charles Schwab, the steel guy, died penniless. Samuel Insull, the utilities king, ended up broke overseas.
And Ivar Kruger, the match king, Jesse Livermore, the famous trader, both suicides after losing everything.
And others like Albert Fall, Richard Whitney, prison, Leon Fraser, Arthur Cotton, broke too. It's a long, tragic list.
It's incredibly sobering. And the author uses it to make a point about today, too, with how fast things change, the booms, the busts.
Right, the uncertainty.
His worry isn't about making money itself. It's about focusing only on that without the financial education, without understanding how to keep it, grow it, adapt.
Yeah, being flexible, learning constantly. It comes back to that quote he uses.
Intelligence solves problems and produces money.
Money without financial intelligence is money soon gone. That really sums it up. It's not just luck or income.
It's the know-how.
Exactly.
And then he brings it down to earth with examples we can all relate to, maybe. Lottery winners.
Ah, yes, the classic example.
Come into a fortune, and a few years later, poof, it's gone. Same with some pro athletes making millions.
And then struggling not long after retiring.
He tells this one specific story about a young basketball player. Made millions, lost it all, ended up working at a car wash.
Oh.
And he got fired because he wouldn't take off his championship ring. He said it was like all he had left.
That's heartbreaking. The ring being the symbol of everything that was lost.
It really drives home the point, doesn't it? It's not just about getting the million.
It's about keeping it.
Yeah.
And maybe passing it on, building something lasting.
Which brings us straight to what the author says is the missing piece for most people, financial literacy. He quotes his rich dad again. If you want to be rich, you need to be financially literate. Simple as that.
And the analogy he uses is great. Building the Empire State Building.
Versus a little suburban house. You need wholly different foundations.
Deeper, stronger foundations for the skyscraper.
Yeah.
Same for wealth.
And he likens the lack of financial education in schools to just pouring a, quote, 6-inch slab.
Right. Not enough for anything substantial. Leads to that leaning tower of suburbia if you try to build too high too fast without the base.
It really paints a picture of instability, doesn't it? Trying to get rich quick without knowing the rules.
So then we get to the core rule, Rich Dad's rule number 1.
And it sounds almost too simple. Like, know the difference between an asset and a liability and buy assets.
That's it. Seems obvious, right?
Yeah, like, duh. But he argues that's the whole point. Most people don't really get it.
Or they get it wrong. He says, rich people acquire assets. The poor and middle class acquire liabilities that they think are assets.
Okay, so that begs the question. If it's that simple, why isn't everyone rich?
Good question. And his answer is, basically, we're not taught. We learn dictionary definitions, maybe.
But not how it works with actual cash flow.
Exactly. It's about understanding what the numbers are telling you, the story behind them.
Not just the numbers themselves.
Right. It's the narrative of your money. Where's it coming from? Where's it going?
So forget complex accounting for a minute. Rich Dad made it super simple.
He did. Just pictures, few words. An asset puts money in your pocket.
Like rental income, dividends.
Right. And a liability takes
Yeah.
money out of your pocket.
Mortgage payment, car loan, credit card debt.
Yep. And if you use those simple definitions, visualized with cash flow, it clicks. By assets, you move towards wealth. By liabilities, you don't.
It seems so basic.
But powerful.
Yeah.
And he connects financial struggles directly to being illiterate, not just with words, but with these financial concepts, numbers.
Understanding those cash flow patterns is key then.
Absolutely. He says that's the real financial literacy, not fancy terms, just understanding the flow.
Okay, so he breaks down these patterns. For the poor,
Income comes in.
expenses, take it right back out. Simple loop.
Pretty much. The middle class, similar income in, expenses out. But there's a twist.
They buy things they think are assets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like the house with the big mortgage, the new car on finance, things that actually drain cash month after month, liabilities by his definition.
Okay, and the wealthy.
Income comes in, yes. But crucially, their assets generate more income, often enough to cover their expenses and then some.
And that then some.
Gets reinvested into buying more assets,
So,
which generate more income. It's a cycle.
the rich get richer cycle.
That's the mechanism, yeah.
Yeah.
These diagrams, even if they're simplified, show the different paths really clearly.
So this shoots down the whole just need more money idea, doesn't it?
It really does. The author seems almost frustrated by that question, how do I get rich quick? Or thinking a bigger salary is the magic bullet.
Because more money flowing through a broken system.
It just makes the leaks bigger. It highlights the bad habits, the poor cash flow management, like that saying he uses.
A fool and his money is one big party.
Huh. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't last if you don't know how to manage it.
Which leads him to criticize traditional education. Great at teaching you a profession, how to earn money.
But terrible or non-existent when it comes to teaching you what to do with it. Financial skills.
He calls it financial aptitude.
Right. What you do with the money once you've got it. How you keep it, manage it, make it work for you.
And that's why you see smart, successful people, doctors, lawyers, whatever.
Still struggling financially. Because earning power isn't the same as financial aptitude. They don't understand the cash flow game.
He then paints this really vivid picture of the rat race. You know the one. Young couple, educated, good jobs.
Yep, they save up, buy a house.
Income goes up, so expenses go up. Bigger house, maybe. Higher mortgage, property taxes, upkeep.
Then the taxes go up because their income's higher. Need a nicer car for the nicer neighborhood. Furniture, appliances.
All usually bought on credit, right? So liabilities pile up.
Exactly. Credit card balances creep up. Maybe they consolidate into the mortgage.
Which just kicks the can down the road, often costing more in the long run.
And the cycle continues. Always feeling like they're chasing their tail, working harder but not getting ahead.
And the author's point is, the root cause isn't usually lack of income.
No, it's the financial illiteracy. Not knowing assets from liabilities, he quotes his friend saying.
If you find you have dug yourself into a hole, stop digging.
Huh. Simple advice, but hard to follow sometimes. It means changing fundamental behaviors.
Then he shifts gears a bit, brings in this Japanese concept, 3 powers, the sword, the jewel, and the mirror.
Okay. Sword is like weapons, skills.
Yeah. Jewel is money. Mirror. Self-knowledge.
And the mirror is the most valuable.
That's the argument. Because without self-knowledge, without really looking at yourself and your habits, the power of money, the jewel, can control you.
Ah, I see. So people just follow the herd financially without asking why.
Pretty much they accept things like your home is your biggest asset, or you have to diversify or get a safe job without really questioning it.
Without looking in that mirror to see if it actually aligns with their own goals or financial reality.
He even links it to fear. Like the fear of public speaking is often about fear of standing out, being judged.
And maybe the fear of going against conventional financial wisdom is similar. Fear of being different, being ostracized.
Yeah. So people stick with the crowd, even if the crowd is, well, stuck in the rat race.
That's a powerful idea. Need the courage to look in the mirror and maybe choose a different path.
Which connects back to his experience with Rich Dad, watching him operate, talking to his bankers, accountants.
And seeing that independent thinking in action.
Right. Rich Dad apparently hated hearing, well, that's how everyone else does it, or the word can't.
He challenged the norms.
Totally. And that was such a contrast to school, wasn't it? Where it's all about rules, good grades mean success, follow the path.
Yeah, definite disconnect. The author and Mike started seeing that their school education wasn't really preparing them for the real world of money.
Especially the lack of any financial education.
It just wasn't there.
And the classic example of this difference in thinking, the house.
Yes. Poor Dad says, my house is my biggest asset.
Rich Dad says, my house is a liability.
Because from that pure cash flow view, it takes money out each month. Mortgage, taxes, insurance, repairs.
Now, he acknowledges the dream, the emotional side of homeownership. It's not saying don't buy one.
But understand it financially for what it typically is.
Yeah.
An expense, a liability, at least until maybe the mortgage is gone or you rent it out.
He lists the downsides.
Yeah.
Huge long-term debt, expenses paid with after-tax money.
Property taxes that only seem to go up. He mentions his wife's parents getting taxed out of their home almost.
Plus the risk it might not appreciate or even depreciate. And the big one, opportunity cost.
All that money tied up in the house. What else could it be doing? Could it be buying assets that actually generate income?
And gaining experience in investing. If all your capital is locked in your house, you can't really play the game, learn the ropes.
So the message isn't anti-homeownership. It's understand the cash flow, prioritize building your asset column first, then maybe buy the house.
It's about sequence and priority.
Exactly.
So then he visually contrasts the financial statements again. Poor dads.
Income pretty much equals expenses. Liabilities column is way bigger than the asset column. Stuck.
The rat race on paper. Rich Dad's statement.
Asset column is churning out income. More than enough to cover expenses. And the extra cash.
Goes right back into the asset column. Buying more assets.
Which makes the asset column bigger, generates even more income, and round it goes. That's the engine of wealth growth.
And the middle class struggle. It's that reliance on the salary. Income goes up.
But so do taxes. So do expenses. They buy that house. The car liabilities they think are assets, they get trapped in debt.
And this makes them vulnerable, right? Especially now with job insecurity, pensions disappearing.
Totally. 401k put the burden on the individual. Social Security looks shaky long term. People feel they have to play it safe.
Maybe putting money into mutual funds because it feels less risky, or they just don't have the time or knowledge to do anything else.
Right. And the author sees that as a tragedy stemming from the lack of financial education early on. People end up in a tight spot financially.
Lots of liabilities, not many income-producing assets.
So they can't afford to take risks, even calculated ones. They miss out on opportunities, those deals of a lifetime, he mentions.
Well, the financially illiterate person who has built that asset base.
They might be in a position to see those deals and act on them.
So it always comes back to rule #1. Know the difference. Buy assets.
Understand where your money is actually flowing. As an employee and homeowner, a lot of your effort benefits.
Who?
Your company, the government via taxes, the bank via the mortgage.
Right. The idea of minding your own business is about shifting that effort so more of it benefits you by building your asset column.
Which leads to a really interesting definition of wealth he brings up from Buckminster Fuller.
Oh yeah, the how many days forward one.
That's the one. Wealth isn't just net worth on paper. It's how many days could you survive if you stopped working today.
It's a much more practical measure, isn't it? Net worth can be fuzzy, tied up in stuff you can't easily spend. This is about cash flow survival.
Exactly. So wealth becomes the measure of cash flow from your assets compared to your expenses. If your assets generate $1,000 a month and your expenses are $2,000,
Your wealth, in Fuller's terms, is about 15 days worth of survival.
the goal is to get that asset cash flow to equal your expenses. That's financial independence.
You're free from relying on a wage. Then the next step, becoming rich in this model,
Is when that asset cash flow exceeds your expenses and you reinvest the difference.
back into the asset column, making it grow even faster.
And it loops back to the start. Rich people buy assets. Poor people have mainly expenses. Middle class buy liabilities they think are assets.
It's a simple framework, but seems to explain a lot.
It really does.
So, wrapping this deep dive up, the absolute key takeaway seems to be this. Getting financially literate is step 1.
Yeah, really drilling down on that difference asset puts money in your pocket, liability takes it out.
And then consistently, intentionally focusing your efforts on acquiring those income-generating assets. That's the foundation.
It's not magic, it's a process. And it underlines that core idea. It's not just what you make.
It's what you keep, and what you make grow.
Which leads to a really practical question for you, listening right now. You heard the concepts, the difference between assets and liabilities.
The importance of building that asset column.
So, thinking about your own situation, what's maybe the first small, concrete step you could take, maybe even today, to start actively building your asset column? Just one small thing to start minding your own business financially.
Something to chew on there. What is that first step for you? We'll leave you with that thought. Join us next time for another deep dive.
Every topic's got a taste, so like, share, and subscribe now. Your next plate's coming soon.